Good evening again. Please welcome our candidates for tonight, Ms. Krista Wresinski, Mr. Alex Carmona, and Ms. Estrella Diaz. Again, our timekeepers this evening are community activists Devon Sidnor and Piper Petricelli. Again, here are the rules of engagement. You each will be given 2 minutes for your opening statements. Once opening statements are completed, you each will be given one and one half minute for each question and 1 minute for rebuttal if applicable. After questions are completed, you will each be given 2 minutes for your closing statements. We will now begin with your 2-minute opening statement. Candidate Wresinski.
Hello. First, I want to thank everybody that's hosting, everybody that's here, for all the people. I love that everybody's involved and cares about our community. My name is Krista Wresinski, and I'm running for District 2 City Council. By nature, I am a quiet person, unless you ask me. Ask me about my life, and I'm an open book. And I guess what I never put together with the forums is that's exactly what's happening. We're asking about not just my work experience and qualifications, but also about my life, because those directly affect my qualifications and who I am. So for my personal experience, I'm a mom, proud mom of 6 children, 3 of whom are immigrants from Hong Kong. I've been a foster parent, I am an adoptive parent, and I am a parent of a kiddo who just so happens to have an extra chromosome. I'm a runner. Running is what I do for my me time, because I do have 6 kids, and it helps clear my mind. Now my career. I started in Indiana as a correctional officer, moved to roles in 911 director, and then started my career as a dispatcher, 911 dispatcher, when I moved to Central Illinois in 2007. My husband and I also started a CrossFit gym in October of 2020, of all times. This life experience and my careers have given me a unique skill set that have prepared me for this position on City Council. First, I can multitask like no other. I'm also a problem solver, I'm a collaborator, and I am a communicator. These are all qualities that are necessary for the City Council members to run Peoria effectively and efficiently. The 3 issues I will be addressing are public safety, fiscal responsibility, and growing our economy. Everyone deserves to feel safe. Whether you're at home or visiting, I want you to feel safe. I will collaborate with the police department and legislatures to ensure that we're doing all that we can to keep our crime rate low. But I don't look at safety as just crime. It's a whole approach. I will work to make sure that both our fire and police departments have the personnel, equipment, and technology they need to be there for you when you need them most. Fiscal responsibility and growing our economy. We can't continue to raise taxes. I will work with others to get our budget in check, keep our infrastructure strong, and keep our fire and police departments funded by doing everything I can to help businesses we currently have flourish, and that we're bringing in new businesses to take the heavy burden from our taxpayers.
Candidate Diaz, your opening statement.
Oh, hey, I just want to say thank you to the NAACP and all you lovely folks for joining in on us and giving us the chance to speak about what we stand for and all that other good jazz. So I'm Estrella Diaz. I am 23 years old. I am a lifelong native to Peoria. I grew up here. I am the daughter of 2 immigrant daughters, or 2 immigrants, and I went to the Dream Center for daycare for a little bit. Then I transferred to Irving, went to Franklin Edison Elementary School, then Rolling Acres Middle School. Then I graduated from Peoria High. Some of the things that I did, I started my volunteer work when I was about 14 years old, where I volunteered at St. Mary's Cathedral for about 4 years, the summer camp, and then I was a member of Young Revolution. I'm a proud co-founder of Peoria for Palestine. I work with organizations such as Lula, Jolt, the Dream Center. And some of the things that I want to do if I am elected, if I luckily get elected, is I want to reduce the amount of crime and more specifically violence in our area, just because when I was about 14 years old, I lost a classmate, Tommy Forrest III, to violence. So whatever I could do to prevent violence, I want to do so by implementing programs such as the Violence-Free Zone. And I understand the Cure Violence Zone, the Cure Violence didn't work, but I feel if we start on a smaller scale, we're able to see what works for us, what doesn't. I also want to extend a hand to lower income families, just because they tend to get left behind, and I myself came from a low income family, so I understand the struggles of that, and people just need a little extra help. But I feel like if we're able to take care of our people and truly invest in them, I understand if we make buildings look nice, if we make the city look nice, that's fine, but if we're not really investing in the people who are the heart of the city, how could we ever truly thrive as a city? But thank you guys for coming, and thank you guys for listening to us. I'm going to pass it off.
Thank you. Thank you to the NAACP. I am a 10-year military veteran. My name's Alex Carmona. My wife Chelsea and I have been married for 17 years. We have 3 kids, Alessandra, Felix, and Carmela. And we moved here to Peoria right before COVID, and it is the best thing that we ever did. And I have to tell everybody here, whether you know it or not, Peoria is a hidden gem. And if you don't believe me, ask the 3 additional families that moved here after they came to visit us from Colorado. So Peoria is a really special place. It holds a really special place in our heart. And I'm running because I want to help the city. Now, the 3 main things that I'm running on are, first, the fundamentals. The role of the government and what it has to do need to come first, as far as safety, as far as infrastructure, the rule of law, a judicial system. These are things that are not optional, that have to absolutely come before everything else. My most exciting one that I'd like to talk about is what I like to call a new renaissance for Peoria. Because, like I said, it's a hidden gem. It has a lot of opportunities that are just waiting for it to happen here. And I think that if we have the right people on council that are willing to shake things up a little bit and get people to move back here and invest into this city, then it can change it for everybody. The last thing I want to talk about is community, because community is incredibly important. This is one of the pillars of the community, and all these things are important because we need to work together to make real change. And so I'm a candidate that is for including all and working together for all of us to solve these problems that can be solved here in Peoria.
Now we will begin with your 1.5-minute questions. Candidate Carmona, please tell us why you chose to run for this city council seat, and what do you offer that the other candidates do not?
Well, I chose to run for this city council seat because I'm realizing very quickly I have 3 kids, time is flying by all of us, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. As my kids get older, my oldest is starting to drive now, and it's like, where did all this time go? So as they get older, I want them to stay here. We've shown our children a lot of cool cities, states, places around the world where they're gonna have options when they get older. They're adventurous, just like me and my wife are. We want them to be. But I want them to stay here, and I want them to build a life and a family here next to us. Now, I feel like I have a lot of experience with certain things because even though I'm an artist for a living, all I do while I create art is listen to audiobooks about history, government, philosophy, and economics. And all of these things that really interest me, and if you don't believe me, ask my wife. She thinks I'm a huge nerd. I take them seriously, and I truly love them. And I feel like nobody has the answers for everything, but I at least feel like I can create consensus and create positive relationships so at least we can have more difficult conversations for very important topics.
Candidate Wresinski?
So I have always been passionate in local politics. I know that local politics and local decisions that are made really affect our everyday. They affect when you call 911, if a fireman shows up in a minute or if they show up in 10 minutes. They affect everything. And so, when it came available, I know I can do it. I can do it well. I started in Rolling Acres, which is the north end of our district. I'm now near downtown. I frequent all the businesses in between. I know the Center Bluff. I know the heart of Peoria. I know people in all of those areas. I hear their concerns. I know their concerns. I've knocked on over 700 doors just even after I got on the ballot, just wanting to know. I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to go out there and talk to the businesses and talk to the people and work with others, because I know it's not just District 2. I'm representing District 2, but it's the entire city that's at stake here. And I I love the city.
Candidate Diaz.
That's a great question. The reason why I'm running is because I want to honor those who all came before me, and I want to be there for those who come after me. I grew up in this city, and I lived in District 2 my whole life. I know the ins and out. I know the city's ins and out. And if I have the privilege to run, if I have the privilege to make a change, to honor the Tommy Forrest III's, I'm going to mention, I had not a classmate, but a friend when I was 12, she committed suicide. If I'm able to honor those who have passed and who aren't with us anymore, then I want to do that. I want to do whatever I can in my power with the time that I have, with the experience with doing already volunteer work. And I want to bring that up. The volunteer work that I'm already doing, it wouldn't be any different from what I would be doing on the council. It would just be a little bit more responsibility, but my focus will always be on the people. And as well, it's not only in my personal life, but also in my professional life, because I work at Caterpillar Safety as a truck driver safety advisor. So again, whatever I can do, I want to be able to, because if we want change, then we have to start at a local level.
Candidate Wresinski. What is your vision and plans for District 2, for the District 2 constituents who feel they have been overlooked by City Hall?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a great question, because I think of the heart of Peoria, and there's a lot of people there that have lived there for 30 years or more that feel that very thing. They see that the simple things like the lighting isn't that great. Yes, we have that lighting program, which is great for the houses, but out on the streets where their cars are parked and, different things like that. And so it's just getting out there, figuring out what they need, but then also I'm only one vote on the council. So talking to everybody on the council and showing everybody how this is not just good for District 2 and the constituents and the people in District 2, but for everybody.
Candidate Diaz.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What is your vision and plans for District 2 for the constituents? And because they feel that they've been overlooked by City Hall.
Oh, that's perfect, because again, I live in District 2, so I understand it more than anyone. But some of the things that I would be doing is meeting them where they're at, because at times we can feel as City Council is very distant and we don't feel like we're able to meet with them. So if we're able to meet people where they're at, whether it be through neighborhood association meetings, whether it be through hosting town halls or having just something like Andre Allen has, like coffee with me on Fridays. So stuff like that, just meeting people where they are, and is one of the things that will greatly benefit those who feel overlooked. And some of my visions for Peoria is, again, I always say this, you heal the heart, you heal the body. District 2 is smack dab in the middle of Peoria, and I feel if we're able to heal those who have felt like they have been overlooked for so long, then we're able to create a ripple effect, not only in the city, but also on a national level. So I think it's very important that we take care of those who have been left behind, because as a city, we can't ever truly thrive if we don't take into account everybody, especially our most vulnerable.
I had dinner with a very wise councilman that told me that as glorious as all of our ideas are that we have for how to change the city, how to change the world, that this job, the district job specifically, is really all about filling potholes and fixing the streetlights. Now, I want to take that seriously because I actually have the time required to be there when people need me. My business runs itself, and so I know that I can pay the utmost attention to the constituents of District 2 and meet them for whatever their needs are. Now, as far as anything going on development-wise, the downtown area has been looked at because it is the place where people typically go to be entertained. Now, things like this I would like to promote as well, because additional goods and services are good for everybody, not just the individual districts or individual people, but they're good for the city as a whole. So I'm here to help people where they are, to be here for them, but also for bigger ideas that are going to help all of Peoria.
Candidate Diaz, what is your position on the Peoria City and County Joint Commission on Racial and Justice and Equity? What is your position? How do you feel about it?
Okay, what my position is, okay, I feel it could be a bit better. As we know, Peoria is one of the most segregated cities across the nations. So I feel like if we have better communication and more people who understand the struggles, then we can definitely make change happen here. Because it really starts with people who understand these issues firsthand. Because if we don't take into account of what they say, then again, we can't thrive because we don't understand, like people who aren't in those positions or have those experiences could never truly relate to those people.
Candidate Carmona.
Yeah, so the DEI initiative, and I like what was said earlier about how polarizing it has become. Although DEI initiatives may be well-intentioned, I would much rather that we stop dividing ourselves by groups. We as a society should look to the foundational writings of this country and finally try to live up to them. The foundational writings that were derived from the idea that we are all equal under God. This is my true belief about how we should be as a country. I think Peoria is small enough that we can actually be the poster child for America to say this is what America was supposed to be. So I just want to reach out, especially to the young people that are here today and that are watching from home, and ask them to help create unity and to always look at people as human beings and as brothers and sisters. This is what I would like to see that takes the place of DEI.
I just want to make sure. Was the question about the committee,
Yes,
the commission?
let me repeat.
Okay.
Let me make it clear because maybe it got mixed up. But I'm just going to take moderator privilege. How do you feel about the Racial Justice and Equity Commission?
Yes.
That's the question.
The commission that's full of the volunteers that we have.
Yes.
So I think it's great because it's full of volunteers. It's people that are active in our community. It is people that care about our community, and they're out there, they're doing the research. They have it subdivided into different committees, whether it be housing and different things like that. And they're finding out where are these gaps? Where are these gaps in our city, and what can we do to fill those gaps? And I can't imagine. It's volunteer work. It's people that care. It's people that are in this community, and I think it's a great commission.
Candidate Carmona or Candidate Diaz, how do you each feel about the commission?
The commission, if full of volunteers that are trying to help, of course, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. I would do nothing to actively try to dismantle it in any way. So if it's something that the community wants, it's something that community should have.
No, thank you for clearing that up, and thank you, Krista, for your answer too. But no, you were exactly right. Again, if it's all volunteer based, that's my whole premise. It's all about the people. It's all people who genuinely care and want to help out. So yeah, I will wholeheartedly support it, and I applaud those who are willing to take the time out of their day to come and help out, because you don't have to do it. You're not forced to, but you choose to because you truly care about the people.
Candidate Carmona, as a council person, what will you do to specifically ensure that the diversity hiring goals that are ordinance driven for fire and police are attained? What will you do to help attain those goals that's within the ordinance that we have in the city?
Well, I think it's important that if we want diversity and inclusion in our community, that we as local leaders go out there and find people that are from diverse backgrounds that can meet the needs of the job that is required. And so for me, when I get on the council, I'm not going to stop reaching out to different communities and coming to things like this and knocking on doors and talking to people, and maybe even in a situation like this, actively trying to recruit people to their own interests and what they want to do as they get older in life, especially the youth.
Candidate Wresinski?
I love this question. I think there is a huge misconception right now about what DI's purpose is. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is meant to give everyone a fair shot. There's this notion that somebody like my son, he's 15 years old, he's an immigrant, he's Asian, and he has Down syndrome. And he loves police cars and fire trucks. And I think there's this misconception that if he were to apply to be a firefighter, that he would automatically get in because he checks some boxes. And that just simply isn't the case. The purpose of it is that we are mimicking and we are mirroring our community. And with that, only good things happen. With different backgrounds, different identities, different experiences, it only increases the functionality of whatever department it is.
Candidate Diaz?
Thank you. So to piggyback off Mr. Carmona, he's exactly right. You need to meet people where they're at. You can't expect them to come to you, especially if there is some sort of distrust already with these systems set in place. So definitely going to where the people are, because if you just wait for them to come, we're going to end up in situations like this where, you know, we're not having people who really want to be on board with these types of programs. Whether it be firefighters or police. And again, just building that trust and allowing us to really hear what their concerns are and truly take them into consideration instead of pushing into the side or simply saying, yeah, I hear you. No, actually listening to them and doing what the people need. Because again, this whole job is to be for the people, to serve the people, to accommodate to the people.
Candidate Wresinski, on November 19th, 2024, the City Council passed an ordinance banning unauthorized camping on public property, which can lead to incarceration and fines up to $750. What is your position on this?
My position is that we have the best nonprofits here in Peoria, and the work that they do serving people who need the help, is literally second to none. I often think of my own children and how if something were to happen to us, if we didn't have a plan in place, they could easily find themselves in the same situation. They need services and support to help them. My children, 2 of them, need services and support to help them be active members in our community, and that is where our nonprofits really shine here. They help with the job training or helping people get connected to programs that exist if a full-time career or job is not an option for them. And it's the job of the city to get the people that need those services to the doors of these nonprofit organizations. Every person is unique, and so is their situation. I believe that continuing to partner with those nonprofits, communicating with them and collaborating with them is the best approach to helping those that are unhoused and those that need services. That's why I've already started the conversation with some to find out where are the gaps between the city and these organizations and how do we get people to your doors.
What is your position on the ordinance itself?
The ordinance itself?
Yes.
I'm glad we haven't gotten to a place where anybody's been in jail. I'm not.
Okay. Candidate Diaz?
Sorry.
Same question. On November 19th, 2024, the City Council passed an ordinance banning unauthorized camping on public property, which can lead to incarceration and fines up to $750. What is your position on that?
I love this question. My position, I'm completely against it. Just because people assume that homelessness is just one specific look. No, homelessness doesn't have one specific look to it. I mean, growing up with 2 immigrant parents, my mom got sick and she wasn't able to work, and my dad was the only one working at the time, and he was a janitor, I'm the youngest of 6 kids. So having just a little extra support is all people really need, and to just criminalize them for things that happen outside of their control, it's cruel, it's disheartening. It doesn't give people a chance, which is also a reason why people don't get involved, because they don't feel like the people in power are really listening to them. They don't feel like they matter. They don't feel like there's any sort of connection, there's any sort of empathy. So again, my position, it's cruel. I would have voted against it. And again, I would have, like Ms. Wresinski, I work with organizations such as Lula and I am in communications with those who are on the ground, but talking with those who are doing the work already is something that will be very beneficial, because it's not thinking what we know best, but it's people who are actually on the ground who know the solutions to these problems.
Candidate Carmona?
Yeah, I think the standard should be set very high to put anybody behind bars. The unfortunate thing about this whole situation is that the leaders of our city saw something happening and they didn't take action immediately. And if they would have paid closer attention or put more importance forward to this situation, then maybe the council wouldn't have to come and make a decision like this in the first place. This is such a complex problem to solve, and all you have to do is look it up and try to see if any city's been able to solve it. There's a few that have made progress, but there's 4 basic components that need to happen for this to succeed. Stable housing, stable jobs, and the third one is one of the most difficult. It's a continuum of care that's tailor-made to each individual's specific needs. And that is the longest part of this whole process. And the fourth is also difficult, because even if we were to meet all these needs somehow, it still has to be voluntary for you to be able to make a change. You have to be able to convince the person in some way that might have mental issues, drug issues, that the help is there for them. So this is a problem that's extremely difficult to solve or even improve. But I think with the nonprofits that we have here and with the will of the people to help, that we can improve it.
Candidate Diaz? President Trump has declared a national emergency along the southern border and declared that millions of immigrants around the country be deported. He has already stated that schools, hospitals, and churches will no longer be safe havens. How do you believe the City Council should respond to this in relation to our undocumented population?
Well, I think that I personally don't want schools, hospitals, churches to necessarily comply with this, just because if we eliminate the idea of places being sanctuaries, how could we ever make people truly feel safe? We're pushing people to isolation where they hide out, where they don't feel safe to come out. And what I want to do is there's a program in Peoria where they're now allowing immigrants to know their rights, giving them the information that they need in case of immigration coming here. And so it's definitely meeting people where they're at and, letting them know what their rights are, but also not allowing our citizens to live in fear. Because I know a lot of people have notions that, immigrants are lazy, immigrants are this, immigrants are that, but immigrants are people that look like me. My parents are immigrants. I'm a second generation immigrant. We're not, just because a few bad apples happen, everybody has a few bad apples, but that doesn't determine that the whole group is a bad apple. No, it's just a select few. And to make those who genuinely just want a better life, I think we need to do whatever we can to protect them and make them feel safe, because they chose Peoria for a reason. So it's our duty as leaders to provide them the care and support that they need.
Candidate Carmona?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question?
Yes. President Trump has declared a national emergency along the southern border and declared that millions of immigrants around the country be deported. He has already stated that schools, hospitals, and churches will no longer be safe havens. How do you believe the City Council should respond to this in relation to our undocumented population?
Well, I think our undocumented population, like Ms. Diaz over here, I am a product of the immigration system. My parents were born in Mexico. But our top priority as a city needs to be to the citizens first. If we are available to help other citizens, if we can, I think that's great. The problem with this is that us as a city already, without any additional inputs, are running into a very dangerous situation financially that I don't think most people really understand. Our city in the next 10 years has a very high probability of becoming bankrupt. Nobody wants to say it and nobody wants to talk about it, but this danger is real. So look, if we have the money to help support people in need, I think we should. But our city's duty needs to be to the citizens of Peoria first, because there's plenty of people here that are in need as well.
Thank you for this question. It's something that has been very near and dear to my heart. 2 years ago, I went down to St. Louis with my oldest daughter, and she got her certificate of citizenship, and my other two children are in the process of getting theirs now. I was actually in Naperville last month at the USCIS office up there. So this is very dear to me because they have sort of a birthright citizenship in that both of their parents have U.S. citizenship. And so that's what theirs is based off of when they came over here. And so I think about this often, and I think about, I don't know what the city itself can do, but I think that if we can protect those that need it, then that should be our role.
Thank you. Candidate Carmona, on the national level, diversity, equity, and inclusion is now declared illegal. The city of Peoria has a DEI department. What is your understanding of what DEI is, and do you support keeping the DEI department at the city of Peoria?
Although I would do nothing to dismantle any DEI department anywhere, like I stated earlier, I carry this around with me every day. Ask my wife. Like I said, I'm a nerd. It's the US Constitution, the Bill of Rights. Everything that is in here talks about how we are all equal under God and how we should treat each other. I would like for us to be the America that is in this book, the city that is in this book, for us to be good to each other without any overarching thing telling us that we should be. I think we need to be brothers and sisters to each other and create camaraderie around this city to embrace each other's differences, always.
Candidate Wresinski.
If I could say ditto, I would. I agree with all of that. I believe that DEI, again, there's a misconception about it, and I think that's why it's easy to say, no, it shouldn't exist. It's a big part of our budget. But I think that it is there to make sure that everybody gets a fair shot. And so I want to make sure that we are always doing that. I want to make sure that when it comes to our city departments, that our city departments are reflecting the community that we serve. And so I don't see why there would be any reason to not do that.
Thank you. Candidate Diaz.
Well, I'll do everything in my power to protect these programs because they were put in place for a reason. And I want to honor those who have fought so hard to keep these programs here. Because if we just let them go, then all their work, all their sacrifice that they put in, it was for nothing. And we can't let that happen at all. And it's most vital because we've seen time and time again where marginalized communities don't really get the support. And if we take away programs like this, and especially with being a candidate for District 2 that is filled with so much diversity, it wouldn't be what a true leader for District 2 would represent, because again, we are filled with so much diversity here, and if we don't take care of programs like this, then we're not going to be able to thrive. We're just going to go downhill.
Sure.
I guess this is just an additional statement to this whole question, and going back to what I was talking about with the budget, is that I don't think anybody here is trying to target DEI in any way. But when the rubber hits the road with this financial problem, the reality is we're going to have to look at everything that the government's doing, and we're going to have to prioritize the ones that have to do with safety, with infrastructure, and with upholding our courts and our rule of law. And so, in reality, I think that everything that we have to look at outside of that scope is going to have to be looked at, and there's going to be a lot of really hard decisions that have to be made, and that's the unfortunate truth as we move forward.
Candidate Wresinski, what is your position on bringing passenger rail to Peoria?
think it's a great idea. I lived in Bloomington Normal when I moved to Central Illinois in 2007. That's where I was around there. I used the Amtrak many times. We would go up there, drops you right off in the middle of Chicago. It's great. Having that, I know it's a big expense for the city. It could be a big expense for the city, but I think that it would bring more than what it would end up costing.
Thank you. Candidate Diaz?
I would support it, but I feel like there's more important things that we need to be focusing on. And although it could benefit us, again, I think there's other things that we need to take into consideration instead of jumping ship on this.
Okay, I think it's important to talk about history for a sec, because Martini's used to be a train station. That train station failed and stopped running in 1955 during the post-World War II era, where all of America was booming and using a lot of trains for transportation. This project is going to cost the local taxpayers a lot of money that we don't have. And on top of that, I need you to know something about Amtrak. Amtrak is a for-profit business that has never turned one single penny worth of profit over. Us as taxpayers own it. The government owns it. We pay for Amtrak to run a $757 million operating deficit. And if you look at the political climate right now in DC, going back to what we were talking about with federal funding, if we gamble our local taxpayer dollars to create this train station, and the federal reforms that are trying to take place right now about cutting spending really continue to start happening, we're going to be left paying for this. Us, the citizens of Peoria. This is a great idea. I want it too. But we have to look at the whole scope and the whole picture of what's going on.
We'll now open up for questions from the audience, 3 questions from the audience. If you have a question, please come to the mic. You first, and then you.
Good evening. I am a resident of the 2nd District for 25 years. I have 2 questions. Well, it's a part A and a B. How many neighborhoods are in the 2nd District? That's the first one. And how do you plan to support them? It is the heart of the city. It's a very historical neighborhood, and it's very valuable. And then just a comment, Amtrak having access to transportation satisfies a couple of things. It gets fewer cars on the highway. So many of us work in Springfield, Chicago. I travel that path, and so there are many of us who would utilize it not only for work, but for pleasure and for access to Chicago without driving to Bloomington or Galesburg, and giving those counties, Knox County and McLean County, my parking money, my spend money. And so it is a benefit. And when you understand transportation and how living in the central portion of the state and being linked to a mecca and jobs and shopping and food in Chicago, then also having access to the next urban complex that would be St. Louis. It's a vital part. And if we're going to spend our tax money, I think it's wise money. It's not like a hotel bill that was created for a friend, but it would give us all access, and it would be very beneficial. And so how are you going to support the older neighborhoods in the 2nd District? Thank you.
I don't disagree with anything you said. I completely agree that it would be a great commodity to have here, Amtrak. Now, I do have to say uncle to your first question, because I don't know the total amount of neighborhoods in District 2. It's a very big district. I've been doing a lot of research on a lot of things, and that is not one of them. What I would like to do to support District 2 is to help, like I said earlier, meet them where they are, go to association meetings, see what their issues are specifically to each neighborhood, and try to address them on a case-by-case basis.
Either one of you.
I couldn't tell you the number. I can tell you where they're all at. I can tell you there's Rolling Acres. I can tell you there's Sherwood Forest. I can tell you it's south of Glen, west of University. I can tell you heart of Peoria, Center Bluff, anything between Knoxville and University, and you just go up from basically, Main Street, and you go up between University and Knoxville in that little area. And then, of course, we have Moss Bradley, High Street, and that area. So we have a very diverse group of neighborhoods. I love the amount of neighborhoods that we have. I love that we have so many people that are in different places in their lives, and I really enjoy going out there on the weekends, especially when we have 50-degree weather, and meeting them and talking with them and seeing what is going on with you. Again, just since January, I've knocked on over 700 doors. I want to know where are you at? What can we do better? And then I've also been going to the businesses within District 2 because we also have a lot of businesses in District 2. So same thing, because those businesses serve our residents. So yeah, and as far as the Amtrak goes, I agree.
You have a comment?
I think we're all in the same boat. We can't give you the amount of neighborhoods in our district. But again, we sound like a broken record because we all have kind of the same approach where it's just meeting people where they're at, because that's honestly how you get people to connect with you. Again, I'm going to reiterate, there's this sort of disconnect with government, and if we're able to meet people where they're at, then they'll be a little bit more comfortable with approaching us and talking with us and telling us what really concerns them. As for Amtrak, I will look further into it just because you give me a lot to think about, and I appreciate your question.
Thank you. Next question.
I was listening very closely at your answers regarding DEI, and I'd like to know from each of you what you think was the purpose of creating DEI. What was the reason? The question is, and I'm a little bit troubled at what I'm hearing.
Oh, the purpose of DEI was to uplift those who have been left behind. That's the reason why we have it in the first place. That's why so many people fought for it, because they knew they wanted to matter, because they do matter. But for so long, they have felt like they haven't mattered, which is why they fought so hard for this. And to me, that was your second question. What does it mean to me? I'm asking. Was the second part of the second part of your question?
First of all, I wanted to understand what your understanding of what DEI was created in the beginning for, and how do you think it has proceeded to accomplish what you think it was created for? Okay.
Yeah, no, it was created to give people opportunities and to include everybody, to give everyone an equal chance to thrive, and to have these programs. It includes people like myself, so of course I'm going to fight for them, and I'm always going to stand for it.
I want to say that in the 60s, diversity training goes back all the way back to the 60s. And the affirmative action program was something that was absolutely necessary during the civil rights movement, because there were interest groups that wouldn't allow people of color and minorities to enter into the workforce, even though it was required by law. And so I have an understanding of it. I see the value in it, absolutely. It's happened until this day. It continues to happen. The only thing I'm advocating for is, like I said, we have laws and a philosophy in this country that we have struggled to live by. And I would promote the idea to try to live by those laws that were derived from our Creator, as they said, that everybody is created equal.
So diversity, equity, and inclusion, I think that there is obviously 3 parts to that. Diversity, the color of your skin. You have the same shot no matter what that is, because before, that's not how our country was ran. It was against you if your skin color was different, or if you were a woman. Inclusion. people that maybe don't look like you in another way, that they are also included in that they are not shunned just because they look a little bit different. Maybe their speech is a little bit slower. Maybe they're just have some extra help that they need on things. I think that was the purpose of it, and I think that's what it needs to continue to be. And I think that's where it started. And
Thank you.
Last question.
Hi, my question is specifically for Mr. Carmona. You mentioned earlier during your rebuttal that there would be later, when there's budget pitfalls and stuff, that things would need to be prioritized. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that, and would that mean that you would not prioritize DEI measures? Thank you.
Sure. The things that would have to be prioritized for the city is anything that has to do with safety. We live in a community or in a society where we as citizens give up the right of retaliation, of retribution, because we have systems in place to do that. This is a part of our social contract. This is what the government is here for. If all humans were moral and virtuous, we would have very little need for government at all. And so every core function of the government that should be prioritized first is all derived from the aspect of safety. So the men and women that keep us safe on the streets, having a judicial system that is fair and just for everybody to use to adjudicate disputes. And we also as a city have infrastructure to take care of to make sure our roads are maintained and stay safe for travelers, for them to go to work and for them to live their own lives. So for me, it's not that I'm singling DEI out. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that every single thing that doesn't have to do with those aspects of safety is gonna have to be looked at. And that's the stark reality of where we are with our budget. Because if this city goes bankrupt, I don't know if the federal government's gonna bail us out or how that's gonna work out with the new administration. So we need to try to take care of each other to make sure that we don't get to that point.
Any comments? Okay. That was our last question.
Oh.
We did 3. That was 3, yes. Yeah, that was 3. Remember Ms. Paris, my man, and then Noah back there. That was 3. It was 3. Yeah.
Well, I want to say again, thank you to the NAACP for hosting us. Thank you all for coming out. Early voting started already. The primaries are February 25th, 2025. I hope to see you guys there. And again, thank you guys for coming out. You didn't have to come here, but you took your time out of your day to come and get to know us, get to know who's also running for treasurer. But I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, NAACP, for hosting this event. I want to tell you a quick story. My parents from Mexico, when I was 8 or 9 years old, took me back to the village they grew up in Mexico. It was made of mud and hay. The houses were made of mud and hay. They had a dirt floor. They washed their clothes in a river. And they came to this country and became middle-class citizens. And they love this country, and so do I. And the sacrifice that they made for me and my family to get to where we are now is something that I could never do or repay it to anybody. But this is one of the reasons why I'm running, is because I'm trying to do right by my children to make sure that I am trying to do something good for them as well. And so to everybody out there, I really want to ask for your support and vote for me in District 2 because I am a thoughtful person. I'm willing to sit down and talk to anybody about any issue that you have, and I do have the time to do it. Please vote for Alex Carmona for District 2 and go to citizensforalexcarmona.com to get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me through email, phone number, all of it is right there. So thank you very much. Thank you for the thoughtful questions, and I hope everybody has a great night.
Yeah, so I've been at the grocery store separating out my food to go with my WIC coupons If you've been there, you know. I've been on the phone with Medicaid because I live in Central Illinois and they changed my child's pediatrician to a doctor in Chicago. While these are state level things, and thankfully WIC is a debit card now, what I'm saying is I understand the function of government and that those programs are there to help us, but I also know that they can be run more efficiently. I've looked out my window and I've seen someone shooting a gun that did not have a colored tip on it less than 30 feet away from me. I know what it feels like to not feel safe in the area that I'm standing in, and that very area being my home. I've seen what happens when our youth don't have the guidance that they need and resort to the life of criminal activity that makes them feel empowered, even if only for a minute. I say all this to say everyone has unique situations and everyone has been through their own life stories. Mine just so happens to have all come together to allow me the skills to fill this role and to do it well. A reoccurring question that I get asked is, you have 6 kids, when will you have time? It's funny for a couple of reasons. First, I've been asked, how do you have time my entire adult life? Started when I was working full-time, waiting tables, going to community college full-time. And then secondly, only people that ask me that are people who don't know me. If you know me, you know I can make time for what's important. We cannot fund our fire department, our police department, have world-class infrastructure and great programs that we have to help our residents, like the roof program, utility assistance, TIF housing program, or anything that helps get us ahead without a strong business climate to bring in the tax money, because we certainly can't continue to raise taxes. I have the skills to do this job and to do it well. I'm a problem solver, a collaborator, and a communicator. These are all attributes the citizen of Peoria need and deserve to have in their city council members that represents them. I urge you to call or text me if you have any other questions. I want to get to know you, and I would really appreciate your vote both now, between now and February 25th, and again on April 1st.
Please give all of our candidates a round of applause. In a hurry? No. We wish you all well in your efforts to run for office and serve the community. It has been my privilege to serve as the moderator for this evening. We thank you for your attentiveness to the candidates tonight. We thank the Peoria Housing Authority and Executive Director Amika Crawford for the use of this amazing facility. We thank Mr. John Wright for being so generous in assisting us in the setup. Thank you to our NAACP Political Action Committee members, as well as Delta Sigma Theta Alumni Chapter, and our timekeepers, Devon Sidnor and Piper Petrocelli, our sound and video engineer, Mr. Frank Blaine, and again, to those of you here in person and those watching by Facebook Live. If you missed any of tonight's forum, we'll have a video of it posted on the NAACP Peoria Branch Facebook page. It will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel at YouTube/@Peoria NAACP 6944. That's YouTube.com/@Peoria NAACP 6944. Please be advised, as it's already been mentioned, that early voting has already begun. So if you haven't voted, you have until the primary election, which is on Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Always remember, your voice and your power is your vote. May God bless you and may God keep you.